Well, the lovers duo is back in action, though the geopolitics involved are interesting. More specifically, Xayah is trying to gain Demasia's alliance by getting closer to JARVAN. Is Rakan jealous? Will Xayah's ploy succeed? Get all the answers in today's episode of... Wait, we're still talking about TFT, right? Hey everyone, and welcome to another ProGuides TFT video. Today, we're going to be talking about patch 10.14's prevalent comps and why they've been so successful. Make sure to play these comps when you can, and you will definitely rise in rank. As with every top comps list, getting the top comp will not guarantee first place, but it will give you a high enough chance for a top 4 finish, netting you that sweet, sweet LP. Positioning, items, and scouting are still your most important tools in this game, working together with your comp in order to give you that shiny first place. In this video, we will talk about each comp, a general playstyle guide, look at items they use, and their positioning. This patch shook the meta a lot, and we have some old favorites hitting the arena again, for better or worse. Before we dive in, I just want to let you guys know that we have a Discord community and a new subreddit that is growing really fast. We have you to thank for that, and we want to continue building our community and helping you be a part of it. Make sure you check the link in the description below. With all that said, let's dive right into our top comp for 10.14, and it is Unlimited Blade Works. Yes, my favorite Fate reference comp is backing at him with Archer, Xayah, blade dancing her way into multiple first places. This time, however, JARVAN is stronger than ever, and even though Rakan is part of the comp, our Vastaya Rebel mainly has eyes for that Prince in the front line. The buffs to JARVAN greatly increased preference for this comp, as he now is an excellent frontliner earlier into the game, and one of the better itemization options for the comp. Starting with playstyle, Xayah plays much the same as before in set 3. You do not put any gold into experience during stage 2 at all. This is very important to maximize your chances of finding 1-cost units, which this build is centered around. Pick up all Xayah, Fiora, Caitlyn, JARVAN, and Shens that you can find. At level 4, you can play Xayah, Fiora, Shen, and Caitlyn. If you don't have all these units, you can play 2 Vanguards or 2 Brawlers as a temporary frontline. If you hit a super early Twisted Fate 2-star, then you can use him as a temporary item holder with the Chrono buff until you hit a good level 4 team with Xayah 2-star. Note that you don't want to use Caitlyn for this, despite being a better item holder, as we are using her in our final team. At Terra Bursters, you should be strong enough to kill them as level 4, so definitely do not level up to 5. On stage 3-1, you should be at 8 out of 10 EXP at level 4 with around 40 to 50 gold. The standard path here is to roll down to 10 gold with the aim of trying to 3-star Xayah, JARVAN, Caitlyn, and Fiora in that order of priority. Pick up any Shens you find too until you 2-star them. If you're very close to hitting multiple units with 10 gold left, you can roll down to 0, but note that this can be risky and will hurt your economy throughout stage 3. If you manage to hit though, it's worth it. Conversely, if you hit 2 to 3 3-star units, including Xayah early in the roll down, you can stop rolling immediately and start building your economy up faster. This is more common on galaxies like Treasure Trove or Trade Sector, where you either have more gold to work with or more units due to free rolls. If you run out of bench space, the priority you saw before should help you choose. Always keep that priority, especially since you can replace Fiora with Aurelia. Even a 2-star Fiora is worse than a 1-star Aurelia. On stage 3-2, we put in JARVAN, and our team should look like this. For Unlimited Blade Works, JARVAN positioning is very important. You always want Xayah to be in range of JARVAN when he casts, so place Xayah close to JARVAN at all times, whether you totally backline or second row Xayah. Against other Xayah players, position Shen and Fiora on the side the opposing Xayah is, as this will slow her down significantly since she'll be stuck hitting your Shen. Against Blitzcrank players, position your Xayah so the tanks like Blitzcrank hook while still being in range of JARVAN. Denying the Blitzcrank hook is really strong because Caitlyn is your backup damage, and it's quite wasteful to have Blitzcrank invalidate her from the start. Against Infiltrator players, move Xayah up 1 row and place an additional unit in the back row where the Infiltrators will jump to. This will keep your Xayah safer. In the same vein, against Dark Stars, for example, you will often see people cornering their Xeraths and Jins. In those cases, and since Dark Stars do not really have a frontline, you can actually frontline Xayah, and she will target the Xerath after she obliterates the first frontliner. Positioning is the name of the game for this comp in the late game, so make sure you make use of these tips and snag that first place. Looking at items needed for this comp, they are the same as they used to be. Infinity Edge, Last Whisper, and Quicksilver for Xayah, then support items on the rest. The two main differences are, JARVAN is now much more worth itemizing, not just with the usual Rabadons, which increases attack speed even further, but with items like Bramble Vest, Dragon Claw, Warmogs, and Frozen Heart. The buffs to protectors and his buffed HP make him spam his ult and gain quite large shield, which synergize really well with defensive stats. Celestial Spatula is actually one of the better items for this comp as well, since 6 Celestials make Xayah outlive Syndra and even Xerath bursts with that 150% healing. Deathblade is also a really strong alternative to Infinity Edge, since it scales very well with Celestial and gives the comp ramping damage, which it makes really good use of. That's it about new Unlimited Blade Works. It's quite contested at the moment, but if you see the opportunity, go for it. A good rule to follow is if you have 4 to 5 Xeraths by 2-3, as well as a couple of JARVANs, it's a good idea to try to go for it. You can always change your mind at 3-1 and decide to level up and go for something else. The next comp we're going to showcase is Snipers, which, as usual, has a couple of variations. There are the Astro Snipers, which can run 2 and 4 snipers, and there's the 4 Dark Stars Jhin carry snipers, which forgoes Teemo and focuses more on Jhin. Both are viable at the moment with a similar playstyle and itemization. The good part about snipers is that throughout early and mid game, you don't actually have to run snipers. Since their main carries are mainly 4-cost units and their items are diverse enough to be ran by anything, your early and mid game can focus on getting win streaks instead, with item carriers for your items, then transition into them. Astro Snipers focuses on a full dual carry of Teemo and Jhin. Its most vulnerable moment is usually the mid game, but you can breeze through that if you manage to get a Bard, especially if he's 2-star. The comp uses a lot of 4-cost units, so it's definitely a struggle to assemble, and you will have to use placeholder units. A really strong opener involves Rebels with Zed Infiltrator holding items, and TF can hold items for Teemo and give Chrono. You can also simply run Cybernetics, and if you find Jhin first, you can transition. As for the Dark Stars version, mainly revolving around playing Vanguards early, especially the buffed Mordekaiser. You do not usually play 4 snipers for this, as you focus more on protecting the Jhin, while also losing units so he gets buffed more and more. Positioning is simple. Protect your snipers. That means both putting items on your front line and positioning so that snipers do not get jumped on. Make sure to put frontliners as far away from snipers as possible in order to take advantage of the distance, adding to sniper damage. The two variations of the comp should look like this on level 8. Teemo is actually quite strong against infiltrators since he targets his closest unit. Make sure you position Gnar offensively, aiming for him to sweep the back line and bring the carries forward for Teemo and Jhin to one-shot. If there are no Blitzcranks, you can corner Jhin or Teemo as well, freeing up more positioning options. In the Darkstar version, you can play Lulu later and replace Xin Zhao for another frontliner, or play Lulu and swap Ashe for Caitlyn to gain Chrono. Another interesting transition you can do if you have the items is transition to full 6 Darkstars if you see the opportunity, adding Xerath and Shaker. Itemization for this is quite straightforward, but has a big trap in it. Be careful of not building only offensive items, since this comp lives and dies by its front line, especially in the Astro variation. Jhin likes his Infinity Edge, Last Whisper, and Guardian Angel. Deathblade is a decent alternative, but given the buffs to his scaling, being able to crit every auto attack is huge. Teemo wants blue buff in the Astro variation, or you just don't play him in Darkstar. The rest of his items are any AP item that you can make, with Jeweled Gauntlet and Rabadons being quite strong on him. Useful frontline items include Redemption, Warmogs, Dragon Claw, Bramble Vest, and Ionic Spark. They can be on Mordekaiser, Gnar, or Wukong. Make sure you itemize them, or your snipers won't have enough time before they're jumped by your enemies. That's it for snipers. The flexibility of this comp makes it quite interesting even if contested, so make sure you give it a try, since it doesn't have to be forced from the start like Unlimited Blade works. Playing around the various optimizations you can make in the late game, switching units like Lulu and Thresh around, will be sure to net you good LP increase this patch. As predicted, even with the hotfix of Syndra going back to 50 mana, Star Guardians are pretty strong. The comp is rather flexible, as you don't actually have to play 6 Star Guardians. You can play up any 3 of them and add units that support their other synergies, aiming at the 6 Sorcerers instead. The main carry is still Syndra, but Nico can still function as a semi-carry, and Janna can help you finalize that victory towards the end, with Paragon and her CC picking up the slack in the late game. That's it about Star Guardians. Remember, the comp is extremely popular right now, so it is hard hard to play steadily, and on top of that, the reliance on multiple tiers makes it even harder. So here's a final tip for you. If you find yourself contested, try to focus on one of the 2 carries and 3-star that one, focusing items on that one as well. You'll be better positioned to stay alive until your opponent's contesting you die first, giving you access to their copies of the carry you don't have 3-starred. Star Guardians is not necessarily a reroll comp anymore, since it is so contested, and with the addition of extra champions in the pool, it is harder to 3-star a 3-cost unit like Syndra, especially how contested she can be. You can still play it as a slow roll though, aim for a fast level 7 and slow roll to get your 3-cost carries, Syndra and Nico. With Syndra's strength now though, you can even play around Nico's protector status and play 4 protectors and consequently Celestial to gain more frontline for Syndra, more attack speed due to JARVAN, which helps her ult more, and an almost unkillable Nico when itemized. Make sure you still have a few sorcerers though for maximum Syndra potential. In general, the comp does want to go to level 8 for maximum power and 6 sorcerer potential, as well as a good chance at getting Xerath. You can also add Mystic with Soraka and Lulu in the later game should you face a lot of magic damage, or Karma if you have Xerath. Poppy and Nico in the front line, Zoe and Lux in the corners for hook bait, and Syndra, Soraka, and Ahri interspersed in the back line protecting one another. It's important that you try to position your Syndra away from diving infiltrators and, of course, Zephyr attempts by your opponents. The comp should look like this at level 8, but make sure you adapt to what the game gives you and keep playing around the Syndra Star Guardian core. You can also run 2 Syndras at level 8, and since they make use of each other's ultimates, their damage scales up really fast, one-shotting things left and right. You mainly need blue buff for Syndra here. You always start tier at first carousel and go from there. Chalice of Favor, Rabadon's, Jeweled Gauntlet, Giant Slayer, and Guardian Angel are good items to have on Syndra later as well. Nico can hold frontline items like Guardian Angel quite a lot as well, with Ionic Spark being really strong due to all the magic damage flying around. Star Guardians are dropping a bit in popularity due to people looking at the Syndra nerf being too much and hopping onto the next comp in the bandwagon. But don't be like them. Play the comp. It should yield you really good results with many top 4s at least. There are a few honorable mentions that you should try out as well this patch. Let's see, 6 Chrono Ashe plus Xerath is looking quite good. Nope, we're not trolling, and quite a few top players have been navigating it to top 1 finishes. You usually play Ashe carry until you hit Xerath, and you either put the Ashe items on him, or you give him more items as well. Cybernetics with the new Irelia is actually doing quite well. Make sure you don't itemize Vayne as before, or only have her carry Irelia items. It is still one of the better comps to play in Binary and Treasure Trove galaxies. Jinx with her brawlers is still doing quite well, especially in the late game with some help from Aurelian's Soul, who is still a strong unit. The only problem is that the fabled Jinx mid-game is suffering a bit because all the new comps have a really strong mid-game and don't let you go too far into the late game. You really need RFC or GA on Jinx now because Syndra will kill her. That's it for this video. We will be uploading every week on Wednesday and Sunday. Thanks for watching, and make sure to check out our TFT content on YouTube and our high elo coaches on ProGuides.com. If you have any feedback for us, comment down below and we will be happy to read what you have to say. Now get out there and farm some LP using the comps you saw here today. I'll see you all in the next video.